Well, hello. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to show you how to make everyone's favorite Scandinavian treat, which is
Lefse.
Lefse, yes. And we're going to use an old family recipe.
Now, you might have your own favorite recipe, or you could even use a Lefse mix. That'll work great.
Okay then, let's get started. First, we're going to talk about the ingredients. You need for lefse good russet potatoes. And then, of course, in any Scandinavian recipe, you're going to want real cream and real butter. And then you need flour, sugar, and a pinch of salt.
And a pinch of Norwegian love.
Oh, Rollie, you get me flustered. Now let's talk about the equipment we're going to need. You need really good equipment for making lefse. The tools we need include a potato ricer, a pastry board and pastry cloth, a corrugated rolling pin and cover, and lefse turning sticks.
And don't forget the grill.
As I said before, we're going to be using russets to make our lefse today because russets are high in starch and low in moisture, and that gives us the nice tender quality we like to have. Today I'm going to need about 4 pounds of potatoes for this recipe.
For those of you keeping score, that's about 10 to 12 medium-sized spuds.
And you try to cut them about the same size so that they get done cooking at the same time, and that makes it a lot easier to rice them. Now, after about 15 minutes, you'll need to check them for doneness. And they should be about fork tender, but don't let them cook too long because you don't want them to get mushy. Now, these look about right. So I think it's time to drain them.
Okie doke.
It's a good idea to let the potatoes sit for a few minutes to let off the excess moisture.
Excess moisture is the death of good lefse, don't you know?
That's for sure. Now it's time to begin ricing your potatoes. It's very important to have a good quality ricer because ricing makes the potatoes so much smoother than mashing.
And it doesn't shred them to smithereens like a food processor can.
That's right. Now you just fill your ricer about 2/3 full, and then you rice your potatoes into a large mixing bowl.
Aunt Lena riced her potatoes twice for lefse as smooth as butter. Aunt Lena was an overachiever.
That's for sure. Now we're ready to start mixing up our lefse dough. So I have got 8 cups of warm riced potatoes, and to that I'm going to add 1/2 cup of butter and 1/2 cup of cream. You have to have real butter and real cream for Scandinavian treats. And now to that we add a tablespoon of sugar and a tablespoon of salt. Oh, this is going to be good. And then you mix it all together really well. And then I like to always leave it to stand on the counter for a while to cool down before I put it in the fridge to chill.
So now it's time to roll the dough.
Oh, no. First you have to get your equipment ready. You can't make good lefse without good equipment. So you start with a lefse board that's covered with a pastry cloth, and this is really important. We have to take a lot of flour and spread it all out to the edges of the whole pastry cloth, because if we don't and we start rolling that lefse dough on here, it's going to stick and break up and be a terrible mess.
You bet.
We can't have that. So we got a good floured pastry cloth here, and you need a good corrugated rolling pin that you cover with a lefse cloth. And now that our dough is thoroughly chilled, we're going to go ahead and add 2.5 cups of flour. And Rollie, why don't you go ahead and give this a good working over? Now that our dough is set, we're ready to start making lefse. We've taken out as much dough as we will use right away, and the rest of it is still chilling in the fridge. And now I'm going to have a cup of coffee while Rollie works his magic.
Great. Let's get rolling. I like to start with a glob of dough about the size of a small tennis ball. You pat the dough into the shape of a hockey puck. Then you get your rolling pin, put some flour on there so it doesn't stick. And then you start to roll the dough out into a nice circle.
You've done this a few times before, haven't you, Rollie?
Let's just say I know my way around a pastry board. Now, you want the dough pretty thin. In fact, you should actually be able to see the lettering on your pastry board through the dough when you get ready to move it over to the grill.
And the grill is good and hot because we preheated it to 500 degrees.
Great. Now, you take your lefse stick, push it right on through the middle under the dough. Then you take it over to the grill, lay one side down on the grill, and then roll your stick over and lay the other side right down on the grill.
You know, Rollie, that's pretty good for somebody who's not a pure Norwegian.
In about a minute, the lefse should be ready to flip. And you'll know when you see bubbles start to rise on the top. You flip it and let it cook for about another 45 seconds, or until the brown spots look just the way you like them.
Yeah, that's the sign of a good one.
Olga, now comes my favorite part of the lefse making process.
What's that, Rollie?
Quality control, of course. I like my lefse hot off the grill with lots of butter.
Oh yeah, that's good, but I have this sweet tooth, so I have to have a little sugar on mine.
Brown sugar works too.
Oof, this is good lefse.